Hi guys, and welcome to episode number 53 of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Thursday, the 25th of August 2016. I'm so glad you're joining me today. If you're watching for the very first time, I really hope that you'll like it. And if you're coming back, then I appreciate that ever so much, and thank you so much for being a regular viewer. I really hope that you enjoy this podcast, and today I will talk about finished objects, works in progress, and quite a lot of acquisitions. I am spinning, but I haven't brought my spinning wheel or bobbin over, so I don't think I'll talk about that, or if I do, I'll just insert a picture. So anyways, I should get started, and today I will start with a finished object, or last week's finished object, before doing all the administrative stuff, just because it's really hot. So last week I showed you my finished featherweight, but I wasn't wearing it because it was still slightly wet, so I just figured I'd pop that on today and show it to you. And no, I have not woven in any of the ends yet, but yeah, it's finished and it's dry, so I'll just show that to you and then take it off very quickly because it is very hot. So you can see this is the featherweight by Henna Fettig, and I will just get out very carefully. So I'm not sure what you can see, but you should be seeing it. I knit it's a longer version than it says in the pattern, but it's still relatively short. And as you can see, I did kind of 3/4 length sleeves, and it fits really, really nicely. I really like how it sits on my shoulders. It fits a lot better than my first one that I knitted. It is not overly tight on the arms, which I also quite like. And yeah, that's it. So this was knit on 3.5mm needles, which is US size 4, and I used Mirasol Sulca Legato, which is a merino alpaca and silk blend, and it is really, really drapey, and I love it for garments. I think I'll definitely knit garments out of it again. And the colorway is colorway number 13. So I just wanted to re-show that to you. And I wanted to get it out of the way because it is really hot. So that's my featherweight. So before I go into finished objects for this week, I wanted to go through some housekeeping stuff first. First of all, we have a coupon code for the Etsy store Nalibes, which is spelled N-A-L-I-B-E-S. And she's a German indie dyer who also sells project bags, and with the code HAPPY10, happy all capitals and 10, you will get 10% off until September 30th. So thank you, Katarina, for that coupon code, and I hope that you guys will take advantage of that. Next, we have two knit-alongs going on. The first one is the Squishy Cow, and that ends very soon. It ends on August 31st, so please get your finished objects in. I feel like a whole lot more people have knitted than FOs have been submitted, so please enter your finished objects into the thread. And because it's ending next week, I figured I'd show the prizes again. So I'll have a chatter prize, which is you get to pick 2 bookmarks from an Etsy store called A Fandom Doodler, and she has these bookmarks that she makes herself. She paints these, and she has all sorts of different characters. And 2 winners from the chatter thread will be able to pick any bookmark of their choice from her store. So these are mine. These will stay with me. You can pick your favorites, and she will send them to you. And then for the finished objects thread, we have this beautiful bag from Katrina. It has a handle. It has a really sturdy sort of jeans fabric bottom. And also you get a matching DPN cozy. So those are the prizes for the Squishy Cow, and I will draw them next week. I will probably close the thread on the 1st of September, so get your finished objects in before that, and if the thread is still open when you check it, feel free to enter as long as it's open. And the winners, of course, will be drawn with a random number generator. So that's the Squishy Cow. Usually I just run my stuff out of the way once I'm done talking about it, but I don't want to do that with prizes because that would just be rude. We also have the Treat Yourself Cow, which is still running until the end of September, so you'll have plenty of time to jump in and submit some finished objects there. And the point is to treat yourself to some nice yarn from your stash. If you've had some special yarn that you haven't dared to use because it's very special, or of course if you want to go shopping, I'm all for that. And the point is to do something or knit something that is a treat for you. So whatever is a treat for you, that counts. And I love how much chatter has been going on. I've really enjoyed that knit along, and there's also some really pretty finished objects in the thread already. So if you are not participating, I would still encourage you to check it out. And all of the knit alongs can be found in our Ravelry group, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast group on Ravelry. And the prizes for that, Cal, I've shown 2 episodes ago, I believe. So I won't show them today, but you can just go back. I will, and all of them are linked in the chatter thread for the knit along as well. So we have loads of prizes for that one. We have 2 skeins of yarn and a plethora of patterns, and what else? I feel like we have a lot of prizes. So that's going to be really fun to give those away in September. I'm also planning a 1300 subscriber giveaway relatively soon. I'm still waiting for something, so I will announce that either when I'm really close to 1300 subscribers or after that. And I will create a thread. So if you find a thread in the group, then just enter, but it might still take a little while. And that crazy hair there is really annoying me. So those are the knit alongs. I should probably tell you where you can find me as well. You can find me on Ravelry as Wupfi, which is WUEPFI. And I am on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast. And I will post show notes for every episode in the Ravelry group as well. So, I feel like I'm talking too fast. I'm really getting used to having no show notes. I'm really enjoying it because it just means that I have one less thing to worry about, but it does lead to me forgetting things more often. Anyways, I'll go through with finished objects now. So I finished a pair of socks. What a surprise. These are socks from a sock blank from Fine Fish Yarns in the colorway Sparked Out. This is her Superwash Merino and Nylon blend. I think, no, I can't remember the base name, but I think it's a standard sort of sock base. It's very soft. And yeah, I used a sock blank, which, oh yeah, here you can see, this is what the sock blank looked like, and I still have a little bit left. So yeah, you get the idea. You just unravel it while you knit it, which means that the yarn is kind of kinky. But yeah, I finished this pair of socks, and this was going to be a pair of socks for me. They're obviously vanilla, so I did 15 rows of 2x2 rib and then put in Fish Lips Kiss heels, which you can see here. And I did my sort of new toe that I've been knitting lately, which is one where I Kitchener when I reach 12 stitches on my needles. So usually I used to do a rounded toe, so this is kind of new for me, and I still haven't woven in the ends. But I really am enjoying these toes at the moment, and they're quite comfortable as well. So I've really enjoyed knitting with the yarn. I really like Fine Fish Yarn. She has a beautiful store. The only thing is that I knit these quite loosely because the sock blank socks that I've knit before were too tight. I think it has to do with the tension. When I knit sock blanks, because the yarn is kind of crinkly, I tension it more. So this time I really tried to knit loosely, and now the socks are slightly too big. Which is such a shame because I really want these to be perfect, and I don't really want to give these away because, yeah, the yarn was very special to me. This was part of my Treat Yourself Cal. So I'm not sure. I'm going to wear them and see if they loosen up even more, and if they do, I might actually rip the entire pair out and re-knit them. I'm also thinking if I re-knit them, I'll obviously soak the yarn again, and when it's not crinkled, it might be easier for me to knit. Another option would be to go down in needle size because I thought this yarn was quite a thin fingering weight, and I knitted on 2.25mm US size 1 needles so far. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen to these. They're really pretty, but I want them to be perfect. So yeah, let me know what you think. I am not 100% set on what I'm going to do, but they might be frogged. But that's definitely not a fault of the yarn. The yarn is beautiful, the dyeing is beautiful. So yeah, I already had an idea this might happen while I was knitting on them, but I figured I'd just finish them and not try them on because I don't like trying on socks while I'm still knitting on them. Well, sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't because, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, these are finished. We'll see about them. Let me know what you think. And yeah, one pair of the needles. So with that, I will move on to works in progress. First of all, I'll show you my blanket. So this is my mitered square sock blanket, and I'm still knitting on a square, which makes it a little bit hard to show you. I knit 6 squares this week. The first one I knit was this one, which was from my swap. It's a really, really pretty yarn with sparkle, but I don't know what it is. This one you might recognize from the socks I recently test knit. This is Bärenwolle in the Princess colorway. This was a self-striping mini from Nicole C. Mendes, whose yarn I've been wanting to get so bad. I think that might be one that I might need to break my sock yarn stop pretty soon as she updates her store, because she has really amazing self-striping yarns, and this is the first time that I've actually worked with one, and I really liked it. This one is from Zazu Yarns. Again, I got the mini in a swap. And this one is from Nalibes Yarns, who gave me most of these minis, and this is her Sweet Orchid colorway, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I love this colorway. I kind of had to use much self-control to not immediately buy a skein, but I think it's a really, really pretty square. And I started in Euro, but I've only started a square here. This one is a West Yorkshire Spinners. I don't know the colorway. It's actually quite scratchy, which surprises me, but it's a pretty color, so yeah. And last week I talked about these needles, which are US size 0 2mm needles in the 40 centimeter length, which means that the needles are really, really short. And I kind of needed to get used to them, but actually by now I quite like them. I think I just kind of had to change the way I knit with these. But yeah, so far I like them, or I like them better now, so I think I'll keep working on them for a while and see, yeah, I'll see how it goes. And all the details of my blanket are on my project page. If you have any questions, you can just look it up. And as you can see, my blanket is getting quite large now, which is good. I've completely abandoned my other blanket for now. I might get back to it one day, but right now I'm really enjoying this one and I just prefer it, so I think I'm going to just keep working on that one, which brings me a lot of joy. And I'll see about the other one at another time. Next, I have 3 more works in progress. And they're all socks, because I'm just obsessed with socks at the moment. First is a new cast on in my Diary of a Yarn's Not Bad. And this yarn kind of had a history. I caked this yarn up to make socks, first of all. This is a skein from Zauberwiese, and I swear I put the label in here, but no, it's not here. Anyways, this is Zauberwiese, who is a German indie dyer, and this is her merino linen sock yarn. So this doesn't have nylon, it just has merino or wool and linen. And the colorway is yin and yang. And first of all, I wanted to knit socks out of this. So I cast on a pair of socks and I knit all of the ribbing, and then I decided I don't want to knit socks with this, I want to knit a shawl together with another variegated yarn from Hedgehog Fibers, which I had kind of thought about before. So I ripped out the sock and I caked up my Hedgehog Fibers and I started a shawl, and then I didn't like it because both yarns are quite variegated, so it's probably not the perfect fit, but I just really wanted to do something with it. I tried 2 different shawls. First I tried a sort of self-designed asymmetric triangle shawl, and then I tried knitting a dotted rays by Stephen West because I had the pattern from when I knitted like a year and a half ago. But both of these shawls didn't work, so in the end I actually ripped both out and re-skeined the Hedgehog Fibers and put it back in my stash, and then I decided to recast on socks. But because I really didn't want to start at the cuff again and knit the ribbing again after I had just ripped it out before, I decided to knit some toe-up socks. So I've knit toe-up socks before, but I never finished them. I tried the Fine and Dandy socks, but then I didn't like the yarn, and yeah, in the end I ripped those out. So these are my first pairs of toe-up socks, which I'm actually planning to finish. And these are the Vanilla Latte socks. As you can see, I started with the toe. I did Judy's Magic cast on, and now I'm knitting the Vanilla Latte pattern on the front, which is a free pattern if you're interested. As you can see, I'm knitting it on DPNs. These ones are my higher sharp 2.25 US size 1 DPNs, and obviously the bottom of the foot is just stockinette, and I really like how this yarn is knitting up. I really love this base. It's actually really soft, which is funny because I had one skein before from the same brand in the same base, and that wasn't soft at all, and this one is really soft, so I'm not sure what happened there. But anyways, I got this as a gift from my boyfriend a long time ago, and ever since he's been wanting the socks out of it, and I kind of wanted it for myself, so I cast them for myself, but he saw it and he absolutely loved it, so no, I gave in. These are going to be for him. So I'm knitting the pattern over 68 stitches. And for some reason I felt like knitting concurrently, so I also cast on the second one. I think the reason was that I kind of like knitting toe up now, and I like doing the Judy's Magic cast on, but I thought if I knit the entire sock, then I'll have to rethink the entire thing again and have to re-figure out how it works. So I just did it twice, and now I have 2 socks, and I'm knitting them concurrently from the same cake of yarn, which works but makes it a bit less portable. And it's funny how one of them is pulling really strongly and the other one is kind of striping. And I've tried to check if I do the same tension because I'm using different needles. I'm using the same size, but these ones are the Knit Pro Zings and these ones are the higher sharps. But maybe the yarn is just that way. It's really funny. I don't mind it at all. I really like pulling. I would have liked both socks to look like this because I think it's really cool. But anyways, I think they're quite fun, and I love the colors. I love having black and white socks. I actually have another skein of black and white sock yarn in my stash because I really like to have the idea of it, and the second skein is definitely going to be for me. But yeah, these are going to be for my boyfriend, and I'm really enjoying them, and the pattern is very intuitive. I kind of wanted to knit him some blueberry waffle socks because I really like them and I love the fit, but he didn't like the bumpy texture. So I feel like these are a good compromise because they have a tiny bit of patterning, so they're not terribly boring, but they're still very vanilla-like. So yeah, that's my first pair of socks that I'm working on. Oh yeah, and I cast on 12 stitches on each needle, so 24 stitches altogether for the toe, and then I just increased every second row with a knit front back, in case you were wondering about that. Next, I have another pair of socks for my boyfriend, because yeah, he likes all the socks at the moment, and I feel like this year I'm being pretty good about gift knitting, which is unusual for me because I like to knit selfishly. But these are still my boyfriend's socks that I showed you last week, and I haven't made a crazy amount of progress. I have the first one done, and I'm just kind of really sick of these socks by now. Which is stupid because they're really pretty, but I just kind of don't really feel like knitting on these anymore. I'll show you the patterning. This is a German indie dyed yarn again. This is from Frau oder Socke, who is on Davanda, and I always link her in the show notes because she's a little bit harder to find. And you can see I did a 2x2 rib and a stockinette sock with a Fishnips Kiss heel. And again, I tried a different toe, so again I decreased down to 12 stitches on each needle and did a Kitchener stitch. And I have not tried these on my boyfriend yet, so I'm not sure if they're going to fit him, but I'm just going to hope for the best. So last week I had, I think, just started the cuff of the second one, so I knit pretty much all of this in one session when we were hanging out with my family on the weekend. So yeah, I think the reason why I don't really like them as much is because I am knitting these really tightly because I'm worried that they'll be too big, which I think is just in my head. But anyways, because I'm knitting very tightly, they're not very fun to knit. I like knitting on a loose gauge, and Frankly, I've knit quite a few pairs on this base as well, so I'm just kind of getting sick of the base, even though there's nothing wrong with it at all. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just kind of not crazy about these anymore, but I'm going to finish them because I know if I let them hibernate, I'll never finish them. And these are being knit on Magic Loop on my Higher Sharps US size 1 2.25 millimeters. And again, I'm doing 68 stitches. And then I have one more work in progress, and surprise, it's also a sock. And it's in a new project bag, which was part of a swap that I'll show you later. But this is a beautiful, beautiful project bag. It's by Erin Lane. She's from the US, I believe. So this is her logo. And in it I have a new cast on with new yarn, because a lovely, lovely viewer of the podcast and friend of mine asked me if I would like to try some Knit Picks Felici, because I've mentioned how much I would love to try it. So we did a swap, and she sent me the most amazing yarn. Again, I'll show that to you later. And I have a hoe. I got these 2 days ago, but I've just been loving knitting on the Felici, so I just kind of sped through the first sock. This is Knit Picks Felici in the Balloon Ride colorway. It's a merino nylon sock yarn, and I knit a slightly shorter cuff on this one. So you can see this is the cuff that I've done. I usually knit really, really long cuffs, and I think the next pair of Felici socks I'm going to knit toe up and knit them really, really long, but these ones just kind of felt summery and fun. I did a fish lips kiss heel, and I just started the heel when the colors changed. And then I didn't want a small stripe of yellow at the top, so when I was finished with the heel, I just cut out some of the yellow and reattached the red, which was the next stripe. And that way, when you fold them up like this, there's no sort of tiny stripe at the top, which I like. I wouldn't have liked. I didn't want to do an afterthought heel, because just the idea, I don't really like it at all. But I think this way it worked out really well, and I just attached the yarn with a magic knot, but then because it's at the bottom of the foot after I finished the sock, I just opened the magic knot and wove in both of the ends, so now it's pretty seamless. And again, I did my newly modified Kitchener to toe. This time I only decreased to 16 stitches on each needle, and they fit really, really well. I think I like this sort of wide toe, and frankly it is so much faster as well. So anyways, I have the first one done, and I started the second one, and I have done pretty much nothing. I just made sure that I matched them up exactly, so they're going to be matching socks, which is exactly what I wanted. And the funny thing is, I noticed that from the first one I just knit from the ball, because they come in 50-gram balls. And then the second one I wanted to start from the ball as well, and I realized that the second one actually had the colors in the opposite directions, which I thought was really funny, because they came in the same order and everything. So I rewound this one into a cake, so that way I have the same color progression. And because I had to rewind it, and because I cut out yarn before and all that to get the colors to match, I have these little minis, and this one is big enough to go into my blanket. And I was thinking, these ones, they're tiny, but they might be enough to do like one tiny colorful stripe in another sock. So anyways, I'm just keeping them for now. They're really tiny. And I probably have lots of leftovers as well, so I'm definitely going to do something fun with those. So yeah, that's my last work in progress, and again I knit these on 2.25 millimeter needles. This time I'm actually using my Knit Pro Nova fixed circulars, just because I was knitting on a lot of socks and I don't actually have that many sock needles, because usually the maximum I do is 2 pairs of socks at a time, and I was up to 4 at that point. But the Knit Pro Novas, I like them. They're not my favorite, but I do like them. I feel like they're a little less slippery than the higher. So if you're not into the slippery needles, those ones might be your thing, but I like them to be really, really slippery. And before I used these, I used my Adi Lace sock needles, which lots of people have recommended to me. And while I love Adi Lace needles for like shawls, I really don't like the sock needles. I feel like the joint is not perfect. And sadly, the same thing goes for my little sock needle that I'm using for my sock yarn blanket. Again, one join is fine and one is just not perfect. So honestly, I lean towards the higher highers and maybe even the Knit Pro Novas before going to Addi lace or Addi needles for socks, which I know is a lot of people have different opinions, and I generally do love Addis. But yeah, that's just what I've found so far. So I was really happy to switch onto these, and I might actually switch to my higher highers as well. So yeah, enough needle talk for one podcast. That's all of my works in progress. I do have some plans to cast something exciting on probably today. But yeah, for now I'll move on to acquisitions. I have done some spinning, but I just, like I said, completely forgot to bring it over, and I think I'm just going to show it to you when it's done. So I have lots of acquisitions. I feel really bad because I feel like I'm showing you guys all this yarn every week, but frankly a lot of it is just because you guys and viewers and friends of mine, you're just amazing. And yeah, I also feel like I've been knitting a lot of things, and I've been finishing lots of things, so things are going out of the stash as well. I feel like my stash has kind of been on the same sort of level lately, which is good. So where should I start? I'll start with the most amazing package ever. It literally had me crying because that was just crazy. So like I said, a lovely viewer asked me if she could send me some Felici, and in the end we decided to do a swap. And so she sent me the most amazing package. So first of all, she sent me some amazing Felici yarn, and way more than I expected. I already showed you the balloon red colorway that I've been knitting on because I immediately had to cast that on. She also sent me 2 skeins of the rainbow because I've always loved this colorway. So I got 2 balls of each. I got 2 balls of the rainbow. I got 2 balls of the Ever After colorway, which was the one I wanted the most because I think it's just so pretty. And then she also surprised me and gave me 2 skeins or 2 balls of the dark side as well. And these ones look quite different, but I think it's just because they have really, really long color runs. This is definitely the same colorway, so these are going to be really, really interesting to knit up as well. But yeah, that's far from all. She also sent me a beautiful card, which I won't read. She sent me 2 fat quarters of fabrics. So these will have to be turned into project bags or something pretty soon. And she actually wrapped some of the yarn in it, it was just all so beautifully and thoughtfully packed up and put together, and you could just see how much love she put into this package, which made it so special, seriously. Then she sent me this really, really awesome tote bag. It has just 1 more row, which is essentially my boyfriend was singing a song about that whenever we want to go somewhere. I'm sure all of you guys know it. It's like, I just have to finish this row. And yeah, I think this is going to be really handy. I might use this for mini skeins for my blanket, but you could easily fit a pair of socks in here as well, so I'm not quite sure. Then she sent me the most amazing selection of teas. I'm not going to even show all of these to you, but she sent me some really, really nice ones, and I've never tried any of those. There's a lot of Tazo tea and Poka and some brands that I didn't know. So I'm really, really excited about trying these. I actually have not tried them, just because it's been really hot and I don't drink a lot of tea when it's hot. But yeah, I'm excited about these. And then if all of that wasn't enough, and she also sent me obviously the project bag, which I showed before. This was in the bag, and this is just perfect. I love the color. The pattern of the fabric is just beautiful, and I actually don't own a drawstring bag, so I thought this was perfect. This one is perfectly made, and I believe she got this at Stitches Midwest for me. And then she also sent me a skein of yarn, and it was packed up, and I was just so excited, and I essentially knew that whatever she picked for me I would love, because yeah. And she sent me this beautiful, beautiful skein, and this is Brew City Yarns, which I've heard of so many times, and I can't believe that I actually have a skein now in my stash. This is the Lucky Charms sock yarn in fingering weight. It's a stellina blend, so it's merino nylon stellina. and it's the colorway Can't Stop the Signal. And I'm going to try to show you the colors in this because they're just amazing. Can you see the glitter? There's so many colors in this skein. I think this is going to be the most amazing pair of socks if I make it into socks. Which I think I will, and it's crazy, crazy soft. And I guess I could show you the tag as well, right? Purity Yarns. So this is just amazing, and you can imagine how touched I was by this package. Very, very lovely, and thank you so much, Jennifer. I say this every time I receive a swap package from someone because you guys are just all amazing. But yeah, this is just the most amazing package. So yeah, I feel like this swap or this package was enough acquisitions already, but I actually have quite a lot more. And the next thing I'm going to show you actually arrived while I was editing the last podcast. So this is a dyer that I've been wanting to buy from for a very long time, and I think 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was still working on my thesis and kind of very stressed out, I just kind of couldn't resist anymore. And I bought something from Hedgerow Yarns, who is a UK-based indie dyer, and she has the most beautiful yarns. And first of all, it was wrapped really beautifully. I kept the paper because it was so pretty. The yarn was wrapped with a little bow and everything. And with the package and a lovely label came this little lavender sachet, and I think you all know how much I love lavender. And it smells amazing. And the yarn. Oh, actually, she also sent me some teas. So I can't wait to try these. These are the English Tea Shop, which I think I haven't tried before. And I got 2 skeins of yarn, and I haven't really broken my sock yarn stop yet, because I believe those yarns could be socks, but they could also be something else. So I think that doesn't count. And the first one is this one. This is her Twinkly Toes sock. So it's a superwash merino nylon silver selena blend, 400 meters. And this is the colorway Nightshade. And just look at the beautiful label. It's just everything she touches seems to be very, very beautiful. So I love the label, Hedgerow Yarns. And like just the way that the colorway and everything is written out is just beautiful. And these are the colors, so it's kind of very faded. You can see there's a lot of sparkle in here, and I can't even tell you the colors, but I think it's really, really beautiful. And this would be a beautiful shawl, or it could be socks. So this is the first skein that I got from her. And then I also got a second skein because why wouldn't you? This is her merino nylon sock high twist. So it's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 365 meters, and the colorway is Highland Heather. And come on, focus. You can see this one is more speckled and colorful, and I think this one has to be socks. There's all kinds of different colors in here, and I think they're absolutely gorgeous. I really tried to resist, but I just couldn't, because this yarn is just so beautiful, and it really feels like, it feels very luxurious, and you can just see that she really tries hard to make beautiful yarn. And she included a stitch marker, which I love. This one is really pretty. So yeah, I kind of felt like I want to buy everything from her. I absolutely love it, and you know how much I love dyers from the UK. I don't know why. I try to buy lots from German indie dyers just because I like to support local business. But yeah, excited. And that was supposed to be it, but yeah. How do I explain this? So I handed in my thesis draft, so not my final thesis, but my draft yesterday. So the last 2-3 weeks have been quite stressful, and I kind of decided that once I hand in my draft before going on a holiday, I will go to my favorite local yarn store in Munich, which is called Die Mercerie, which is a very, very nice yarn store. And we went this morning, and I kind of had the idea, since I really love the Madeleine Tosh and I love the 2-color shawl that I knit out of it, the Emiliana shawl, I kind of thought about treating myself to 2 more skeins to knit a Because I Love You wrap. I'm not 100% sure on the pattern yet, but 95%. So, yeah, this happened this morning. My poor bank account. I got 2 colors, and my friend would tell you it was a struggle for me to pick 2 colors. But yeah, these are the colors I picked. I wanted to get something that's me, but that's still kind of not the same thing I get all the time. And yeah, these are the 2 colors that I picked. So these are Madeleine Tosh Merino Light. So this is a single space, and the 2 colorways that I got, how do I show this to you? So the colorful one is Electric Rainbow, which is a really, really awesome colorway. And the ones that I've seen before were a lot more green, and I like this one because it's got a lot more different colors in it. So it's definitely crazy, but I'm not much of a green person, so this one is just perfect for me. So then I wanted to go with a neutral. And again, this is something I wouldn't usually pick. I'm not really one for the dark colors, but I really like it. It's a dark sort of bluish gray, and this one is called El Greco. And I think these ones go really, really well together. I know they're kind of crazy, but they're also, I feel like they really complement each other, and in a shawl together, it'll be colorful, but not too neon. So I think this will be a really, really pretty shawl. And since we're going away tomorrow, I'll probably cake these up today, and this will be my holiday project. So I just took a quick break to already transfer some of the videos onto my computer, and now I'm back and I have a question to answer. And I actually didn't write down the exact question, but it was about how do I manage to knit on multiple projects? Do I allot time for every single project, or do I have some kind of system, or how does it work? So I will try to answer that, and the real answer is I don't really manage my projects a certain way. I don't allot time in the way of saying I'll work on this on such and such days, and then I'll work on something else. I kind of work on whatever I feel like. Having said that, I do try to work on everything at least once a week, because I know that if I let projects linger and hibernate, I will just lose the interest and I will not like working on them. For example, with the socks that I showed you before, the blue and yellow sort of socks for my boyfriend, I've been knitting on them for too long, and when I knit on something for too long, I just don't enjoy it. Unless it's something very, very special. There are exceptions, but generally I know that I need to make progress in order to keep the interest. So for these other sorts of projects, I will try to knit on them every now and then, even though I don't maybe 100% feel like knitting on that, or I'd rather knit on something else. For example, these socks I usually take when I'm going somewhere. So that way, when I'm, for example, on the weekend I hang out with my family, I just knit on it and I didn't even really notice it. And I made some progress, and then that sort of helps. Besides that, I usually work on more than one project per day. I switch through my projects quite frequently. For example, sometimes I might really only knit like 10 rows on something, and then I'll switch onto something else. And sometimes I'll, of course, work longer periods on each project. It really depends. But yeah, I think lots of people work on one project per day, and that would just kind of limit me too much. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'd be really, really interested in how you guys do that. I would love to hear from you, maybe in the episode thread for this episode on Ravelry. How do you manage your projects? I'd really, really like to know, because I'm always up for ideas, and yeah. But you know, I have a maximum of 4 projects that I work on at the same time, usually, and that does not include blankets. Blankets are kind of a different story, because I just work on them whenever. It's like, this week I felt like working on my blanket, so I did, but there's weeks where I don't work on that. And the blanket is the only thing that I don't force myself to work on at all. I only pick it up if I really, really feel like it. And often I work on it while deciding what I want to work on next. So if I finish a couple of projects, often I don't really know what I want to cast on. So for that, the blanket is perfect. But yeah, besides that, I try to limit it to 4 projects at a time. ideally even less. I like to have 3 on the go. I feel like that way I get enough progress done, but at the same time I still have variety, because just working on one thing at a time would just make me feel bored, I think. And at the same time, it's like, while I like to finish things quickly and I don't want to work on something for a long time because that'll make me lose interest, I also don't want to rush through things. So if I only work on one thing, I'll finish a pair of socks per week or something, and then I feel like I don't really enjoy the yarn. So yeah, switching it around really helps. So I hope that answers your question, and if you have any other questions, and that goes for everyone of course, please feel free to post them either in the YouTube comments or even easier probably in the Ask Away thread on the Ravelry group, because that way I find them easier. Because if I get a notification on YouTube, I will definitely get it and I will read it, but sometimes I don't later remember which episode you posted that comment on, and yeah. So feel free to ask me anything you'd like. I am always here to answer your questions. And with that, I think we're done with the Yarny talk for this week, and I will move on to life in general. So if you're not interested in that, that's 100% fine, and I'll just see you next week. But if you're sticking around, I have quite a few things to talk about. First of all, I have a recommendation of a show that I've been watching, or we've been watching on Netflix. So you might or might not know that I am a little bit of a foodie. I like eating, I like cooking. I hate baking, but yeah, cooking brings me quite a lot of joy. Even though I don't usually make really, really complicated things, but I do like to cook and I like good food. And there's a documentary on Netflix, at least it's on German Netflix, so I assume it's everywhere else. And it's called Chef's Table. And it is I think it only has 5 or 6 episodes, and each episode is about a chef. And I've only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes by now, and they've been really, really interesting. It's kind of about the food, of course, but it's also about so much more. Like, they tell all these stories, and one of them is about this Italian chef, and sort of, it's also kind of almost a love story in it. And yeah, all of them are really, really interesting. There's some that make you think about, like, what are the things that we eat and where do they come from, and sort of the ecological aspects of that. And yeah, every episode has been really, really different. But yeah, I've really enjoyed these, so I would suggest that you give them a try. And maybe that's not your thing at all, but I just thought I'd share that because I thought it was quite interesting. And we've only ever watched one episode at a time, because I feel like you really kind of need time to watch, and it's not something that I could binge watch. But yeah, it's been interesting, and I always love being inspired for other ideas for cooking. So yeah, maybe you'll enjoy that. Besides that, for life in general, last week I recorded before the weekend, and we were going to have we had a quite busy weekend. We went to my friend's wedding, which was amazing. It was really, really beautiful. They had their wedding celebration at this, it's not a farm, but sort of like in the middle of nowhere. They had this really, really nice wooden sort of shed building with gardens, and they actually married outside in the garden underneath a beautiful tree, and they had like everything was just really, really beautiful. And they're really good friends of mine, and for me they're really the perfect couple. They're just one of these couples. I can't help being super, super happy for them. And it also gave us the opportunity to catch up with some friends who I studied with in Würzburg, and we had a really, really nice night. And how many times can I say really in one sentence? There was a lot of dancing and beautiful food, and yeah, it was really nice. So we were quite tired after that and kind of planned to do not a whole lot for the weekend. But then on Sunday we actually decided to visit my family, who was staying at the Chiemsee, which is a lake in the south of Germany. My parents were staying in a little apartment that has been in my family for, I want to say 60 years or something. And I've spent lots of time there when I was a kid, when I was growing up. So we drove down there for a day, and it was really, really funny being back, because I had been there with my boyfriend before, but the last time I was there with my parents must have been like 6, 7, 8 years ago, probably even more than that. So it kind of felt really weird, but in a good way. And obviously, it was nice to catch up with my family who had just returned from Italy. And we had really, really bad weather actually. So we took a boat to a tiny island called Fraueninsel. And when we went off the boat, it was essentially just pouring down with rain. So we ran to the next restaurant. But it got better, and we spent some time walking around. I took some photos and a tiny video. I didn't really do a whole lot of videos this time just because I wanted to spend time with my family. But I will include that in the end of the episode. And yeah, we just had a good time. We had some cake, and then we just hung out in the apartment and talked, which was really, really good to spend some quality time with my family, who I actually haven't seen in quite a while. Besides that, what else happened? Well, on Tuesday and Wednesday, these were the big days because I was planning to hand in my thesis draft. So I spent Monday and Tuesday perfecting my thesis draft, and then I sent it off to my supervisor, which was really scary. I mean, he is giving me feedback, and he's giving me feedback to help me improve my thesis rather than to criticize me personally, but I am still quite worried about that. But once I sent it off, it felt really good. I actually sent the thesis off, and then my family came to visit because my parents hadn't seen the new apartment. So that was really nice. We had a good time, and after that, this beautiful swap package that I showed you before, it arrived at the perfect time because, yeah, how much more perfect could it have come here? So yeah, that made me really, really happy, and I spent the day or the rest of the afternoon on the balcony knitting on my Felice socks, and I've started reading the new Harry Potter book. I actually resisted for a really, really long time because I love Harry Potter to death, and I just felt like whatever would come after would just kind of ruin it. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, but I've started it and I'm taking my time because I don't want to just speed through it, and I'm also reading a different book at the same time. But yeah, I started that, and yeah, I've really been trying to relax and just enjoy the time, which has been quite difficult because yeah, I'm a bit overambitious, I think, sometimes. And so yesterday, when I really just wanted and should have relaxed, I spent quite a lot of time looking at job offers and internship positions and calling places, and I really considered going crazy today and applying for things, but then I realized it's just stupid because we're going away tomorrow, and I actually need some documents that I need to scan and do a lot of things to get organized before I can really apply. So I decided to just take it slow, and there'll be plenty of time for me to apply for jobs. And yeah, so I'm trying to, enjoy the time because it's just a couple of days anyways. Like I said before, I had a beautiful morning this morning with my friend, buying yarn and drinking coffee and eating cake, and yeah, the weather has been really, really nice as well, which has helped. So yeah, I'm trying my best to relax and not panic about my thesis or about the future or what I want to do after I finish my studies and all that. I'm trying not to panic. That doesn't mean that I'm succeeding, but yeah. So tomorrow we're going away. We're going to Nesselwang, which is in the Allgäu, which is a part of southern Germany close to the Alps. It's really, really pretty there, and we've spent lots of time there before because my boyfriend's parents own a tiny apartment there, which is just beautiful. And I've only ever been there in winter. We usually stay there over New Year's. And you might not know, or you might not remember if you haven't been watching that long, but we stayed there at the beginning of this year, and that was a time where, my boyfriend decided to quit his job and start something new, and we decided to move, and I quit the side job that I had at that time, and I designed my first shawl, and yeah, it was really a time of lots of change. The last time we were there, actually we were quite miserable lots of the time, just because all this drama happened, but at the same time it was, it feels quite significant to us, and a lot of stuff has happened. So it's going to be nice to go back, and everything has worked out really well regarding my boyfriend's job and regarding my thesis, and yeah, so there's lots of memories kind of connected to the place already, and I know that the second we step into the apartment, I'll feel super, super relaxed. And I'm taking lots of knitting, of course. And yeah, so we're staying there until Wednesday. which should be super fun. And I really need a holiday, and we really need some one-on-one time as well. And it's probably the only time this year that we're going to go on a holiday together, so even if it's just for 5 days, I'm really, really excited about that. So, I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted to talk about this week. In fact, I probably forgot 10,000 things, but yeah, that's all the pressing matters at hand. I will probably keep you posted through Instagram of our trip. I might try to record some videos because I know that you guys seem to really like when I put little clips at the end. I will try to insert some photos from our trip on the weekend as well at the end of this episode, but the weather wasn't great, so you'll definitely see that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this podcast today. I really hope that you like it. If you have any feedback, of course, you can always get in touch with me, and I love hearing from you, even if you just want to say hi. And I will see you next week with hopefully some exciting news and lots of knitting. I hope you guys have a good Friday and a wonderful weekend, and wherever you are, you're doing well and you have lots of knitting to keep you company. Maybe I managed to enable you a little bit, which is always fun. And yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are so important to me. I love doing this podcast because it means that I get to talk to you. And yeah, I really hope you're doing well, and I will see you next week. Bye!